Okay. Oh my gosh, we got a whole row of seats up front, y'all. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 9 seats right up front. Come on down. Don't be shy. This is like a doorbuster for January. This is amazing. I'm gonna, Sarah, you can hear me okay?
Nobody wants to sit in front.
All right, thanks everybody. We've got a bunch of seats up front here. Please come on down. Don't be shy. If you need to leave early, it's also fine. Just stand up and walk away. Don't worry that you're in the front row and it feels awkward.
Heather, Peter, seats right here.
Yep, seats up here. There's 2 here, 3 here. Okay. I want to say welcome to everybody for being here. My name is Jill Keenert. I'm the campus director for REEF Environmental Education Foundation here in Key Largo. This is our first of a monthly series that will continue through August, at least this year in 2025. We call it Fish and Friends, and it's because it's a series where we get to learn about fish sometimes, but also about friends of fish and everything that we can do as members of this amazing Florida Keys community and the space that we live in here. We're going to have a great talk by Melissa in a few minutes. I have just a couple of announcements to go through. Actually, there are more than a couple, so be patient. I'll try to go fast, but not too fast. If you're the kind of person that likes to take a picture, there's some information coming up. So our upcoming online events, and we want to say hello to everybody joining us on Facebook and Zoom and YouTube tonight. We have our Into the Blue book club, and the title this time is called Grouper Moon, and it's with the author and illustrator Cynthia Shaw. That'll be on the 30th at 8 p.m. And this is very timely because the Nassau grouper will be beginning their special spawning phase in the Cayman Islands shortly. And we'll have more information about that later.
And you sell the book here?
Do we sell the book here?
You do sell the book here, and I'll just put in a plug. This is a kid's book. And if you have younger
It's a
kids,
kid's book, and if you have younger people,
my granddaughter and I are reading it together.
Lori's.
People join the book club.
Okay, I'm just repeating for the people on the thing. Lori gives it 2 thumbs up as a kid's book that you can read with your grandkids or other generations to get them interested in ocean science. So the next one after that online will be our Fish-N-R. This is Tropical Western Atlantic Lookalike. So Fish-N-Rs are specialized webinars where we go into some detail about different kinds of fish, helping people to learn how to identify them and become even bigger fans of them. So this fish on this side is a jackknife. And this one is spotted drum. So stuff like that. If that's what you geek out on, we've got this Fish-N-R for you in February. Our next Fish and Friends, as I mentioned, this is the second Tuesday of every month. So February 11th, we're having Autumn Blum, who's the founder of Stream to Sea, which are our favorite reef safe sunscreen. And she's going to talk about what it means to be reef safe. But if you know Autumn or have heard of her, she's an amazing diver, has dove all over the world, and has a really great story about how her care for the reefs and the fish of the reef have led her to this business. So that's on February 11th. Same deal, 6:15 outside for snacks and drinks and 7 o'clock in here and online. Volunteers needed. So we are really upping our game with helping divers who want to contribute to science and conservation participate. I think you might be talking about some of these things too, yep. Melissa, if I'm not mistaken. But REEF's program Size Matters Innovative Length Estimates, or SMILE for short, is a program where you use recreational type cameras that recreational divers use with lasers, and we take information that can then be into fisheries management. The next training for this training is required to participate as a volunteer in this is February 15th. Sorry, I had so much stuff on the slide. This got a little small. February 15th, this QR code will take you to a page about the Smile Dives and the opportunities to participate as a volunteer there. We are also, you might have seen on social media, looking for volunteers who are interested in helping us create artificial intelligence training data sets for both the Smile project and the project we call Grouper Spotter, which is kind of like facial recognition for grouper. The Nassau grouper have unique lines on them. So we need people who can do it from your couch, wherever, minimal technology or fish ID skills to help train our AI to do better at looking at that. We are also known here at REEF for our efforts to combat invasive species, including the lionfish.
The date is wrong on
Yeah.
It's in April.
Oh, shoot. It's April. It's not August. Who's doing so good? It begins with an A. So sorry. Yes, thank you. April 24th, 27th. I think the captain's meeting is on April 24th. The Derby itself is on the 25th, 26th. And then on the 27th, we'll have the festival here on our campus. And we're also going to include the arts and science festival activities that we did last year is going to be folded into this. So I also realized I forgot to put the website link on here too. But it's reef.org/lionfish.
Will you be cooking us?
We will be cooking them. We'll be having ceviche, usually lionfish dip, taste testing that way. There'll be a whole lot of activities around that weekend to look forward to. April, right here, on the 27th is the festival. April 27th, 2025. Much cooler than August. And then the last thing I wanted to say is save the date for the grand opening of our new building. You might have seen it through the trees over there. It's a 4,300 square foot new construction that's going to have state-of-the-art exhibits and interactive ways for people of all ages and interest levels to interact with ocean conservation and more space than this for education activities. The second floor of this, in fact, is a big room and we can put 80 people up there. So come back next January, or actually come back in June, and by June this year, we'll be having our Fish and Friends in that building. But the grand opening is June 7th is actually the date when the public grand opening is happening. There'll be activities that whole weekend. Yay. Now we usually turn to community announcements. Want to welcome some new staff and thank you to our volunteers. But I don't see her here. Lisa Mangelli is Bob is prepared to do it on her behalf.
Sure, I thought you were going to do it.
I'm going to do it, yes. Lisa's the director of the History of Diving Museum, and she's often here with us, not this evening. Tomorrow night, myself and my colleague, Michaela Peterson, will be giving the Immerse Yourself presentation at 7 p.m. at the History of Diving Museum in Isla Mirada. You can come to see us and learn up-to-date latest things about REEF, and I hope you do. But you should also know that they're opening an art exhibit tomorrow evening as well. The Purple Isles Art Guild is a great collaborator with the Diving Museum, and the exhibit theme is Fantastic Fishes. That's just going to open tomorrow. So it's pretty perfect that we're going to be there talking about REEF. Our title is Fish by Fish, Local Action, Global Impact for Marine Conservation.
And the opening's at 5 with the ribbon cutting at 6.
The opening's at 5 with the ribbon cutting at 6. Okay, so now, oh shoot, let me go back. Okay, welcome new staff and spring 2025 interns. We haven't had Fish and Friends since last August, and I forgot how many new people we've had join here. So here at Reef in Key Largo, about half of our staff work here physically in Key Largo. The other half distributed around the country. Hi to everybody watching. But I want to introduce our interns and our new staff. So if you have not been introduced yet in front of the group, please come on up. Yeah, please. Yay. So you don't have to say like a lot. Just, yeah.
All right. Hi, everybody. I got to meet many of you actually at REEF Fest. So hello again. And to the new people whom I haven't met yet, hello. I'm Michaela Peterson. I am the new Director of Education here on campus. I moved here in October from Seattle. So I am experiencing so far what Key Largo has to offer. And so far what I've found out is that it's an amazing community and the people are pretty great. So learning a lot. I am here to help with some programming, helping support the educational department, and helping to open up the Ocean Exploration Center in some new and amazing ways. So I hope to see you all at that grand opening on the 7th of June.
Yay.
Hi, everyone. My name is Britt. I'm one of the new spring interns. So I just started like a week ago. I also moved here from Seattle, which is something we have in common. And yes, similar to Michaela, I'm loving Key Largo so far. It's my first time ever here and in Florida in general. And everyone is so nice, and it's really nice to finally meet everyone.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cami, short for Camilla. But I also just started a week ago and also moved to the Florida Keys a week ago. So very excited to be here with this awesome staff, learning all about really cool fish. And I hope to see you guys at other Fish and Friends.
Hello, my name is Shelby. I started back in September. I'm the newest education coordinator. So I focus a lot on our different school programs and travel groups coming through. So we go and say hi to the schools. They come and say hi to us. And very excited to get programming started over in the new center in June.
Some of you may remember a year ago, the first Fish and Friends in January, I had been on the job 2 days. Like that was my second day. So if I got to do it, everybody's got to do it when they get here. We're thrilled to have them here. Other staff I hope you met during the social outside here in our Key Largo office. I also want to say special thank you to our local volunteers who helped provide the snacks that we had tonight. Yay! And the drinks, and do so many things to help keep us fed and happy here on campus. We will be expanding our volunteer program, especially as we get forward to the new building being opening. And so if there's something that you'd like to do with us sometime, in addition to the diving and the AI training, we'd love to have you here too. Last thing I'll mention, I think this QR code would take you to our sign up for our Campus and Keys community newsletter. If you signed in with the laptop, and I hope you did outside, that'll get you on our main mailing list. But if you wanted really interested in what's happening here on campus and around the Keys with us, that's your direct link to that, as well as our website. And now I would like to turn it over to Melissa. And I don't have anything to tell you about her credentials, which are amazing, and all her experiences, which are tremendous. I would just speak as a member of the Keys community and say how thrilled we are on behalf of everyone that you are here with us. It has been a real difference and a real contribution that you've already made in connecting people, in connecting nonprofit organizations with the dive operators. And I'm just thrilled that you're here. I'm glad you're talking to us this evening. And I can't wait to hear what you have to tell us.
Thank you.
Please join me in welcoming Melissa.
All right, can everyone hear me? Yes. Okay, so I don't really like talking about myself, but in December, Mead came to me. Mead works at REEF, and he said, "Hey, our speaker backed out for January. Can you talk?" And I was like, "Sure, okay." And he's like, "What's your talk title going to be?" And I was like, "I don't know." And I was like, "You know what? The entire reason I wanted to come back down to the Keys and to work at Rainbow Reef and to work for Ocean Conservation Foundation was because I really wanted to have everybody work together and have all hands on deck, so that we can actually collaborate for restoration in the Florida Keys." And so what you see up here is a conglomeration of some of those photos. So on the upper left, you can see Bridget. She's one of our Mission Iconic Reef Guardians. And then Christine, who's somewhere in the audience here. Where are you? She's one of our Mission Iconic Reef Guardians up there with Luke, another one of them. Christina Teasley, where are you? So she's actually in this photo cleaning a coral tree at the CRF nursery. Joe is unfortunately on a boat right now, but that's her doing some work at Moat Marine. Peyton also wanted to be here, couldn't. Those are some of our reef guardians. Elliot, where are you? Elliot's back there. He's one of the main members of our conservation team. He's been probably on the team the longest. So you can see these are a bunch of our employees, and we have everyone from, if you're one of our Rainbow Reef managers, raise your hand. Go ahead, Kel, raise your hand. Okay, if you're a Rainbow Reef captain, raise your hand. If you're a Rainbow Reef guide or office staff or instructor, raise your hand. So what's really cool right now is that this team started out with 4 people before I started, 4 active people on the team. And now we have 37 active members of our team. And here you can see Noah. So Noah's back there, raise your hand. Noah actually works for Reef. There's Christina again. And then we have some guests that are actually learning about reef surveys on one of our boats. So I'm really excited that we're starting to get things rolling in the Keys, and especially with Ocean Conservation Foundation. But we'd like to do that more. So thank you to Reef. This is actually at DEMA. And Sierra back there, you can also see her. That's Mead, and this is one of their Reef members that also joined at DEMA. So who am I? I'm the Director of Conservation for Rainbow Reef and Ocean Conservation Foundation. I got a PhD in shark biology and genetics from Texas A&M, and I'm also a dive professional and educator. So today I finished teaching an advanced class, and some of my students are actually here. Where'd you guys go? So I learned about turtles and sharks during the class as well. So I was just another little girl who really loved dolphins and mermaids and spent a lot of time at our local library getting books out on dolphins and figuring out how they made noise and their insides. So I really wanted to work with dolphins and be a mermaid. I am now a certified mermaid, thanks to Patty. How many certified mermaids are in the audience? Oh, nice. But I'm not a dolphin trainer. But I do get to work in marine science, and we did see dolphins recently on a dive, so that's pretty cool. And so I went to BU and studied management, and how many of you have heard the name Les Kaufman? Anyone in Coral probably has heard of him. I was actually a management student, and Les said to me, I took a graduate level evolution class, didn't do very well. I was a management student. And I said to the professor, I really want to do the BU Marine program out in Woods Hole. And the guy's like, you need to go talk to Les Kaufman. I went to go talk to him. He's like, yes, you're a management student. You don't have any of the qualifications. Go take chemistry all summer and you can come do this. So I did. And then in undergraduate, I met Gil Rosenthal, who ended up being my undergraduate advisor at BU and my advisor at Texas A&M. And then Brian Bowen in Hawaii, when I moved out there to go teach. I was supposed to be doing some scientific diving research on mesophotic reefs, but decided I really did not like going on rebreathers. And then John Miller and Donna Miller. Donna's how I ended up in the Florida Keys. John Miller was my PADI course director in Hawaii, and his wife taught in Key West, and she's the one who actually recruited me down here. And then we have our management team. So my predecessor told me that our management team really didn't like working with conservation. I found that they're really helpful, and the only reason that Kel has that on his face is because when I said I was doing this talk, that's how he responded with that emoji. And I knew he'd be a good sport about it. So what drives me? The knowledge, learning, and growth, and the belief that collaboration is always going to beat competition. So no single organization or individual can solve the challenges that we're facing in the Florida Keys, but by working together and across interests and disciplines, we can make a real difference. So fun fact, I have not missed a single reef event since I moved down here in August, and I'm really trying to keep that streak alive. Thank you. Chad and I took Ocean First's Sustainable Dive Leader course all the way back in August. That picture in the middle, Jack again is in there, and then it's part of Mission Iconic Reef Guardians program. We were actually piloting the program to do some snail removals. You have CRF. Patty Gross and I were fighting for that hat, which raised a lot of money for CRF at Coral Palooza last year because we kept putting more and more tickets in so that one of us would win them, and we ended up time sharing the hat. So there's a lot of fun things that we're trying to do, a lot of collaborations that we're trying to build. So what is Ocean Conservation Foundation? Anybody know other than Kel? Sorry, Kel. other than Alex and Kel. Okay, go ahead, Kel. What is it?
Well,
The Ocean Conservation Foundation, or OCF, is our in-house 501c3 not-for-profit, which differentiates from Rainbow Reef and just that we don't make a profit there. But the 501c3 is by design. It is the organization that works with all of our key conservation partners, Reef, CRF, Mission Iconic Reefs, with the National Marine Sanctuary, etc. So it's the umbrella organization in-house at Rainbow Reef to do presentations just like this one.
Good. Perfect. So in 2021, Rainbow Reef actually eliminated all single-use plastics on our boats. We were using a pallet of water bottles every week to give to guests on board. And then DJ realized we're part of the problem. We need to be part of the solution. Conservation needs to be our legacy. So in 2022, OCF has started, and we decided that we're going to do conservation on every boat and leave conservation as our legacy. And then the story really begins in this presentation in June 2024, because I started the position on May 31st of this year. So I'm not going to talk through all these points, but like Kel said, it's a 501(c)(3) non-for-profit organization that's dedicated to hands-on marine conservation. We want to do conservation on every single dive and get everybody involved. So whether it's coral restoration, debris removal, scientific research, every initiative is going to be designed to involve the community and to create a lasting change. We want to get people to come here and then go back to where they're from and be like, guess what I did? I found out about sharks today and how to tell the different species apart or other anatomical features of sharks, for example. It's an inside joke with these guys. But the work isn't just about the environment. It's about our legacy to future generations. So we want to restore marine ecosystems one dive at a time through action-driven partnerships and hands-on restoration efforts. And this is from Women's Dive Day a few years ago. I think January might be in this picture too. Eric is in this photo, and January. So we want to become a global model across the Keys for marine conservation collaboration. And that's really what this is about. So anyone recognize any of these organizations? Okay. Does anyone work for any of these organizations? Maybe. Does anyone work for Reef? Who's here? Is anyone here from Dive Park? Oh, anyone from Marine Lab or Ocean First? CRF? If they weren't here, I was going to call them out. So they sent Martha. They texted me earlier and they're like, "We're too cool to get off a boat." But they sent Martha as representative. So these are our dive centers. These are a lot of our non-for-profits and government agencies that are in the Florida Keys or in Florida. How about FWC? So by the way, back there, Tony Hart right there is our new lionfish coordinator for the state of Florida. So he actually came down for the presentation and he's getting scuba certified starting tomorrow, which is really cool. So these are all different organizations that are in Florida or in the Keys that we can bring together to make conservation happen. So we're going to talk about our beautiful reefs. They're troubled. Anyone know what is this that I'm showing on this slide? Coral tree. What's on the coral tree? Ah, staghorn coral. So, and there's fire coral there. Yep, true. All right, and the filefish. Good. So clearly, some of you are experiencing seeing the coral nurseries. That's a coral nursery tree. So we're going to talk about how we live in a really beautiful but troubled environment. Talk about coral bleaching and disease, reef damaging species, marine debris removal, conservation courses, and a few ideas to bring more people together and do more things in the Keys. So as you know, we have a lot of amazing ocean life in the Florida Keys. And yes, they are amazing, even though they're invasive. So we even see turtles that we don't normally see. Daryl Duda actually took that photo on that side right there. That's a Kemp's Ridley turtle that's found here. These are wild staghorn coral that are on one of our reefs here. So a lot of cool things. But if you're watching this video, there's going to be one key feature of the video that I was really excited about. But I want you to take a look at the different fishes that you see and the different corals that you see. So isn't that amazing? This is some of the really cool things that we want to bring people to the Florida Keys to see. So these were 6 spotted eagle rays that actually hung out with us for about 10 minutes. Because if we don't chase the wildlife, then it tends to just circle around us. If we just stay nice and calm in the water column, they just keep coming back. But as you're seeing these really cool spotted eagle rays and you're seeing lots of schools of fishes around, what do you notice about the hard corals on the reef? It's dead. There's not a whole lot of it. Luckily, because we have some healthy grazers, the algae is not too high. We do see some healthy soft corals, right? But we do have some issues in the Florida Keys. You guys want to just keep watching this video? I'll just leave this on. So these guys stayed with us for a long time. We're not going to play this full video. But sorry, but there's trouble in paradise, right? So we have invasive species. Last year was the worst coral bleaching event that we've ever seen. We also had the highest temperatures in the waters. It was kind of like a hot tub. There's coral diseases. And then, of course, we have a lot of debris. So we're going to talk about what some of these problems are and what you can do about it, what everybody can do about it. So coral bleaching in the Florida Keys, over 90% of our hard corals have been lost in the last 40 years. And even though there were some bleaching events that happened in the 1980s and 1990s, the first really severe bleaching event was in 2005. As you can see, these events have gotten closer and closer together, especially in recent years. And this is a picture that was taken by Shireen Rahimi last year. What kind of coral is that? It's an elkhorn coral. What's happening to it? It's bleached. So in addition to bleaching, we also have a lot of coral degradation and disease because once a coral gets stressed, it's more likely to see disease. And so we have 7 diseases that are affecting our corals that we know about in the Florida Keys. The first of which that we see down there is white band disease. And because we name things in a really creative way, it's got a white band. So you see the dead corals covered in algae here. There's a white band that's coming towards the live coral polyps, and it's likely caused by algae. Black band disease, why do we name it that? Wow, there's a black band. So probably hydrogen sulfide is actually suffocating these coral polyps around here. You see the dead coral polyps here, and the disease is expanding outward. This is caused by bacterial infections. And then one of the worst ones that we have is stony coral tissue loss disease. It looks like lesions. So again, you see dead coral here, and then it looks like it's lesions around the different areas. So, and then once a coral gets stressed, it's unlikely that it's going to recover. But there are cool things that we can do to help them to actually look at this and to monitor these. This is to show you from FWC. This is a coral head that on March 1st, 2018, 99% of it was alive and doing well. And they noticed that 2.5 weeks later, it actually had stony coral tissue loss disease, and 11% of the coral was dead. A month and a half after the original sighting of this disease, on April 19th of 2018, the entire coral head is gone. So these diseases can move really rapidly. And I had a guest on the boat say today, I'm only here for 2 days. What can I do for conservation? And I was like, easy, let's talk about it. You can actually get involved in coral condition reports. So by actively monitoring coral disease and bleaching, if you're in South Florida, there are multiple ways that you can do this. All divers and snorkelers can participate and submit data through either CFAN or through MOTE's Bleach Watch program, and the training is all online. All of that data gets submitted to NOAA's Coral Reef Watch, which creates all the reports. So you can go on and take the training when you go home. The videos are only about an hour, and then on those websites, and if you want links to these, I can give them to you later as well. But if you're in Miami-Dade and North, you can talk to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. And Taylor there was really helpful. She talked to me on the phone for an hour and taught me about how I was like, what is the difference between Bleach Watch and CFAN? She was like, oh, well, because you're in the Keys, you report to Bleach Watch. If you're Miami-Dade and up, then you're going to report to us, but it doesn't matter. We'll share the data. So that was really helpful for me to know, because I was like, why do we have all these different programs doing the same thing? And then once you submit your reports, it'll go straight to NOAA, and then they can make sense of it and tell us what's going to happen with the corals. So from our reports and from what people are submitting, and then from data trackers, we can actually look at coral bleaching events. And one of the reasons why we want to do this is because if you take a look at 2015, which is the first major bleaching event that we looked at on a previous slide, you can see that basically all I want you to take a look at is that these are the months coming across here. And then in August and September is when we have alert level 1 and alert level 2, which basically means that that's when we actually see coral bleaching. In the orange, you can see it's probably going to happen the next couple of weeks. Now, what happens in 2023 and 2024 is I want you to notice that the red here from August to September is now all the way from July to October, and that the level is a lot higher because these are going to be degree heating weeks. So we have more severe bleaching occurring right now. And so a lot of what people are doing in the Florida Keys is trying to find the more resilient corals, trying to plant the more resilient corals. So there's a lot of coral monitoring and restoration programs that are going on. Over there on the left-hand side, you see two of our team members working at Moat. They're making trays so they can actually outplant some of the brain corals. At CRF, you can actually learn how to outplant corals. And so that's that little picture of the coral in the middle. And this is JD from Mission Iconic Reefs actually searching for snails on a healthy elkhorn coral so that he can try to remove those snails and piloting those programs to get guests to do that. So we have at least 2 people from Mission Iconic Reefs here. So raise your hands, Maddie. Yay. And Chandler back there. So Chandler, do you want to tell people what you're doing now?
Sure. You just have to repeat it for the people.
Okay.
I'm Chandler. I'm with Iconic Reefs. I'm the new Iconic Reef Guardians manager for the program. So kind of cool with the theme here, bring everybody together, and it takes a team to help the reefs. That's kind of what we're doing, leading the project, the program with passive and active nursery experiences for the local dive shops.
So for those of you who are not here, Chandler is the new you're the Mission Iconic Reef Guardian Stewardship Manager. And she's going to help get a lot of those programs running because Maddie, who moved up to the implementation manager, is that correct?
You have a really good memory.
So Maddie is now the implementation manager for Mission Iconic Reefs. And so now Maddie and Chandler are going to be working together for that program to try to build the program to get more dive shops involved and to get more programs running. Because the whole goal of Mission Iconic Reefs is to restore 7 iconic reefs throughout the Florida Keys to self-sustaining levels by 2040. And the goal is to get 25% coral cover on those reefs so that they can then recover on their own. And there were dozens of partner organizations, including REEF, including a lot of dive shops around the Keys to try to bring those reefs back. Did I get that right? Okay. So, and we have at least 14 active coral nurseries here. So Coral Restoration Foundation has 7 nurseries, of which the one in Tavernier is over 1.5 acres and holds 500 coral trees. How many of you have been there? How many of you have actually gotten to clean the coral trees or outplant coral? How many of you have seen a coral spawn? I tried. So how many of you have seen the corals that have gotten so big on the trees that they're dragging the trees down and they're coming together and branching together? So this summer, because we stopped outplanting because it was so warm, it was really cool to see some of those corals coming together. So for those of you that don't know, these are not chicken nuggets or chicken fingers. These are fragments of elkhorn coral that are growing on a coral nursery tree in CRF's nursery. And there are experiences where people can go and actually help clean the trees, outplant corals, et cetera, as both part of CRF and part of Mission Iconic Reefs. And then Moat Marine Laboratory also has nurseries in Isla Mirada and Key Largo, each with 20,000 coral fragments that are ready for outplanting. And Reef Renewal USA also has nurseries in Tavernier, Big Pine Key, and Marathon. And they have 1,000 different genotypes. What's a genotype? Anyone know? What is it?
It's basically the molecular or the genetic identity of the organism.
Good, the genetic identity of the organism. So your different genetic makeup determines that. So if we have different genes, it means that I'm short and you might be tall. Maybe you're short like me, right? So just like we have diversity in us, so does coral. So, and I might not be susceptible to influenza A, but Peter here might be, right? So by having different genetic lineages of corals, we can help preserve genetic diversity. And hopefully by doing that, we can actually have corals that are less susceptible to certain diseases. Even though some might die, we can reserve others. So you can join a lot of the dive shops around the Florida Keys in active or passive nursery tours. You can go snorkeling or diving, and they're programs that are in conjunction with nursery practitioners and in conjunction with Mission Iconic Reefs. So if you join one of the active experiences, you get to actually work with the different personnel at the different organizations to do coral monitoring, outplanting, and they're typically full day experiences. You can also do passive nursery experiences in which you're going to do the learning beforehand and then dive the coral nursery, learn about the corals, and then we go to an active restoration site and you can see where those corals have been outplanted. So that's what our Mission Iconic Reef Guardians do, is they bring you on passive tours to show you these things. What's really neat about these nurseries is there's different types of coral as well. These are boulder corals that are growing on this tree here. As you guys told me earlier, this is staghorn coral, and this is one of those trees I was talking about where the coral was doing so well this summer that the staghorn coral is already fusing into each other, which means that it's doing really well. And now that coral is ready to be fragmented and then outplanted, which Coral Restoration Foundation has been doing recently. And on some of the reefs that you guys go dive around here, you can actually go find them. So if you want to join us, this is the picture I was telling you about. So if you want to join us, we have these experiences once or more a month. This is actually from the other day. This is Emma, who works at Coral Restoration Foundation. And she was taking, they also have their new interns, and she was taking their new interns snorkeling. But she decided to just jump on the boat, and I caught the perfect picture of her. So if you know Emma, please tell her that I did use this photo, because she was like, is this going to be like on the main page of your website? And I was like, no, but I know where it can go. So and it went on our Facebook page. So you can let her know that she is now the star for OCF and for Rainbow Reef. But jumping for joy to go into the coral nurseries. So and you can see the different dates. If you're a diver, you can also find these dates. You can call the shop. You can find it anywhere else as well. So iCare, who we have started to work with in a small capacity so far, we're hoping to work with them more. You can also participate in restoration dives, especially if you're a local. You can do coral and sponge outplanting on Fridays and Saturdays. And if you get on their text list, they'll let you know. Some of these dives are free. Some of them, they just ask for a donation. So this is Jenny and Fletcher, two people that also work with us that went to iCare, and we learned a lot about coral there and different ways that they outplant corals, which is really neat. All right, now we're going to switch modes. Identifying and controlling reef damaging species. Anyone know what that thing in the upper left-hand corner is? Yellow-footed snail, aptly called that because its foot is yellow. There are also purple-footed snails or black-footed snails, and we don't want to remove those because those are going to eat those guys up there. Why do we remove the yellow-footed snails? They feed on coral, so they're feeding on our hard corals. Are those invasive to the Keys? No, they're native to the Keys. So why are we able to remove them? Because they're eating the coral. Because this is actually, I learned this from Maddie on a boat this summer. But how many of you have heard of the white-tailed deer population up north? So even though white-tailed deer are supposed to be in that area, we call them sometimes because sometimes they get too abundant in their own environment, right? So just like that, we're starting to remove yellow-footed snails because they're too abundant for the coral that we have. So the other thing in the middle there is going to be a Xenia soft coral. They're not found in the Florida Keys yet, but we are going to watch out for them. We also have bristle fireworms. They're native to the Keys, but damage coral. Lionfish. How many of you have never heard of a lionfish? Okay, good. And then what is this? Ah, how many of you know what Palithoa is? What's Palithoa? It's a zoanthid, which means it's a colonial anemone. It's not actually a coral. We're going to talk about why it's a problem. Oh, and this is the other species. So identifying and controlling reef damaging species. What's wrong with that picture? Just wait, you're on one of these slides, Jack. So, not using strobes. So Jack said not using strobes. We'll get back to that in a minute. So invasive species, you want to report all sightings. So how can you get involved in conservation? Report all sightings. If you do see a Xenia soft coral, please report it, and you're going to report it to the U.S. Geological Survey. If you see lionfish, you're going to report it to both Reef and to Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. And if you need those links, we can get them to you later. But you want to report them because they are invasive. And every time we cut one of them open, we're finding 30 to 60 small fishes in their stomachs. So, Jack, you want to tell the story about the one that you saw with the spotted drum?
Yeah, so It was on Molasses Reef.
Speak loud. Louder.
It was on Molasses Reef. If you're familiar with 9 Channel, I was headed towards Logan's Run area, and under a ledge was a lionfish and a juvenile spotted drum. I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. I can get a photo of both. And before I can even get the camera up, the lionfish sucked in the juvenile spotted drum.
So, unfortunately, because he was in a spa zone, he could not spear it at that time. But the lionfish, he saw it eat my favorite bony fish. So, we're also monitoring these species to assess coral reef health. So, bristle fireworms are also native to this area. Please don't touch them because they are venomous and they will sting you. Collection by permit only, or if you're with a coral practitioner. But they eat the hard corals, and when corals get outplanted on the reef, it's like if you smell fresh cooked brownies. That's what it smells like for these bristle fireworms. And so you plant the new coral, then you go out and you're like, what the heck? And you see an entire branch missing. It's because one of them went out and was like, this is a great new snack. Yellow-footed snails are also native to the Florida Keys like we talked about, but they also eat the hard corals. So collect them only by permit. You can't go out on the reef and just grab them unless you're with somebody who has a permit or if you're with MIR. So one of the things that Chandler and Maddie are working on is a program so that we can actually get guests involved in helping us to remove these snails from the reef. Until that happens, please don't do it. But you can observe the edge of hard corals, and sometimes around that skirt, you can see a little bump that looks like the same algae that's everywhere else, and that's what those snails look like when they're around that reef. So here JD is actually teaching us, so you can't really see, but he's got forceps in his hand and little baggies, and he's actually trying to find these snails on this coral, and I think he found about 10 of them on that coral head. So remove those from the reef. So Palithoa is a colonial anemone, and it's a nuisance species. So it's thought to be toxic to coral and fishes. So people from Dan and Boston University, and a picture of Les Kaufman again, are studying the effects on reefs and corals. Again, it's collection by permit only, but they've actually taken some off of the reefs, and Les has asked me to photograph some on different reefs to look at the cover of it and see, is it competing with sponges? Is it competing with the corals? Where is it? Where is it growing? How is it growing? And you also want to observe and report all sightings. I'm putting this on here now because it's timely. Last year, there was a fish spinning event down here. How many of you remember that? So the fish spinning event, I was particularly involved in the sawfish event. So what happened was, with the reports that came out said that it was a neurotoxin producing dinoflagellate, potentially linked to harmful algal blooms that were here. And the warm water and the poor water quality led to dozens of dead sawfish throughout the Florida Keys and then moving north throughout Florida. Because these are critically endangered and they're found in Florida shallow waters, you want to report all sightings. I have information for that on the next slide. Now, we're not allowed to show the pictures, but our staff at Rainbow Reef and OCF, even last year before I started, I had asked some people if they would be willing to help transport the sawfish that had died up to Port Charlotte so we can do necropsies on them. We took over 300 samples from each fish, and some of the people in this room were actually involved in that project. So they actually put them in their trucks on ice and drove them up. So that was pretty cool. If you see them, please maintain a distance of at least 20 feet. You're likely to see them, especially around this time of year. Submit all sightings by calling the Sawfish Hotline and then reporting it to NOAA's Sawfish Sighting Form. If you accidentally catch one, please also report that interaction. If you catch one on a line, cut the hook and leave it. Do not try to interact with it. So believe it or not, but these rostrums right here are actually very fragile and you don't want to be looking at them. A friend from Big Pine Key last year when I was still in Sarasota sent me this photo that a friend of his had sent him. Somebody actually cut the rostrum off of a sawfish. That is highly illegal because they are critically endangered. And the person was afraid to report it because they didn't want to be the one to get in trouble. But again, please report everything. Everybody in the Keys can be involved. If you see something, say something. Lastly, species management, guests with cameras. The first person in this photo is Jack Teasley. This is how you should be, nice and neutrally buoyant in the water column. You should not be kicking a reef or touching a reef or laying across a reef. And unfortunately, it's not the photographers, it's people with cameras. And I make the distinction because all the dive operators in the Keys know this. How many people have seen someone with a GoPro and you tell them about, please maintain neutral buoyancy, and they're really good at it, and they see something cool and they just drop down to the ground? How many of you have seen that? So everyone who's been on a boat has probably seen that. So make sure that you specifically speak with photographers to be mindful of their surroundings. And I like to say, and enforce your policies. If you see someone, I pick them up straight off the ground. I don't care if it's an instructor, a photographer. I don't care if they're going to yell at me. I yank them up off the ground and say, no, you can't be down there. The Italian mom finger comes out. So watch your photographers. Then we also have marine debris removal. In the Florida Keys, you have a big problem with marine debris, but luckily, if it's a Blue Star operator, every Blue Star operator in Florida Keys was eligible for funding from Goal Clean Seas, and we all got our funding awards in the last few weeks. So there was a meeting last week that every dive shop that got awarded funding had to go to, and we have 26 of our staff that are being trained next week on the procedures for Goal Clean Seas, so that we can run 2 charters a month to go take debris out of the ocean. So I'm going to skip this slide. Here's the good stuff. All recreational divers on these dives dive for free. So any diver that comes down, whether you're watching right now or whether you're sitting in this room, if you're a recreational diver and you want to come on these dives, they're going to be limited to 18 divers per trip so that we can have a 6-to-1 ratio of staff, but anybody can come down and participate in these dives. So thank you to Goal Clean Seas Florida Keys, because they provided the funding for this. And these are the dates that we have so far. We'll be adding another date for each month. I just haven't had time to do it yet because I had to make this presentation. So you can also take conservation courses. How many of you in this room have taken a conservation course? Oh, how many of you are a conservation instructor? Raise your hands higher. Good. So there's lots of opportunities to take and teach conservation courses, and they are my favorite. So what kind of turtle is that? That's a loggerhead. That was taken by one of our guests over Christmas break. That picture in the middle is what kind of fish? A rainbow parrot taken by Daryl Duda. There's Christina again, the same picture. I gotta get more pictures of someone other than Christina. Cleaning a coral tree because of conservation. So these are some of the courses that we offer, and some of them you can take without even having to dive. So if you were to take the coral conservation specialty, you just have to come and do a seminar with myself, someone at CRF, someone at MIR. You can come and do that course with someone who is a certified PADI instructor, and you can get the certification. You can also do these 3 2-dive specialties. You have to be open water certified to do them, but they pair well with a lot of other things. So sea turtle awareness, we actually are getting a permit from PADI to be allowed, or a exception from PADI to be able to teach the second dive of that course at night, because the Benwood Wreck is a turtle hotel. It is one of the coolest things. You see between 12 and 15 turtles. We see 3 different species there regularly, and sometimes we see some of the Ridley turtles there as well. Fish ID. So on the first Friday of the month, we actually partner with REEF to have guests come here and learn from REEF interns and employees about fishes. And then we take them out diving and they do a survey. But on the boats, if you're a dive instructor, I always have the REEF survey slates. So when someone says, how can I do conservation? I'm here for a day. You can show them one of the slates and say, hey, come and do this. And I always have a bunch of nerdy slates on the boat with us at all times. And then shark conservation, which is my favorite. Especially when we go on the deep wrecks, we can actually show people all kinds of sharks and find Caribbean reef sharks. We can find nurse sharks. Sometimes we can find bull sharks, especially on the Duane. So we can teach them about shark conservation as well. There's a lot of things you can do. So reef fish surveys. This is my student last week. Look at his amazing drawings. So as part of the PADI course and as part of the reef survey slate, it says, if you don't know a fish species, draw it. So this guy was drawing the entire time we were underwater, and it looked like that underwater. It was incredible. So learn how to identify fishes in the Florida Keys. You can obtain a slate and a survey paper to record the fishes that you see. And then you get to submit your survey to reef.org, where there's over 300,000 surveys and an open source database. So that's one of the really cool things people can do. These are my 3 students doing their surveys and just some of my favorite fishes here. So Reef Smile Project, like Jill told you about earlier, is a really neat project as well. You identify 9 commercially and recreational important species that are groupers, snappers, hogfish, and parrotfish. And then you use a TG6 camera. This is Carolyn from Reef right here, and this is our friend Cody. He works for NOAA and Seminole Scuba. And you use the TG6 camera and point a single laser to take photos of the fish. And what it allows you to do is take that single photo of that fish moving, and then they send it to engineers in California who can estimate the size of the fish. The great thing about this is that you don't have to catch fish to estimate how many there are or to estimate their sizes or do population studies. So we're starting to work with Reef. We might have a camera or 2 at Rainbow Reef sometime in the near future. And guests can actually talk to Reef about taking these cameras out as well. And these are some of the species that you may want to photograph as part of this project. So fish surveys and Project Smile, these are the dates that we have set, but you can actually come do these any day. Now the cameras depend, the Smile Project depends on if there are cameras available here because they do take trips and stuff like that. But if you want to do it on a different day, let Reef know or let us know and we can make it happen for you. And then how many of you have ever wanted to be a shark scientist or dreamed of working with sharks? I want to highlight this too. You can be a shark biologist for a day with Ocean First Institute. You can bait and set long lines, safely handle sharks, and deploy baited underwater video systems, and even maybe work with drones, which is really cool. I'm trying to go really fast because I'm watching the clock. So just some things that we've done since June 2024. These are only the people that sent me the photos when I asked them to, but we've actually grown from 4 people to 43, including office staff, instructors, mates and guides, managers, course directors, and interns. This is Moo. He's a new course director. We have eliminated baby shampoo on all of our vessels, and now we're using Reef Safe defog on all the vessels. And this was Randy, our store manager, Grace, who I think is here somewhere, right there. And we were testing dilutions of different ones, and we have it all in a notebook. We did a scientific study on different defogs to figure out the best ratios and the best Reef Safe sunscreen. So just so you know, we are using Stream to Sea. We reinstituted Conservation Fridays. So we do a different thing with a different partner on every Friday, in addition to doing things on different days. So we work with Reef on the first Friday of every month, but we also come and bother Reef on a regular basis throughout the week and month. Sorry, not sorry. So we've also become, for Rainbow Reef, we are now Greenfin certified and a certified PADI Eco Dive Center, one of only 2 in the Upper Florida Keys, and we're proud to be a Blue Star operator. With CRF, we've run 14 charters and brought 467 total people to the Coral Nursery from June 1st to October 31st. That's when I stopped having time to track the data. So you can see Roxanne. She's watching live and wanted to be here today, and that's Sam over there. Unfortunately, I couldn't be here. This is our staff member. Casey is actually in the audience here. That's Ryan, who works for Reef, and that's Hope over there. She's also one of our office staff. They're getting trained by CRF. Our boat got blown out by weather that day, but we still trained. And this is one of the great groups that we had at Coralpalooza this past year. I think Coralpalooza is the 6th and 7th? Is that true of June? I think it's the 6th and 7th of June. I might be lying to you. Yeah. So, which is the same day as the Reef openings. We have so many cool things going on that weekend. We've also tracked over 300 lionfish in 2024. We do spearfishing trips on Wednesday drift dives. Right now it's professionals only, but we may be opening it up to guests if we can figure out a good way to do that. And we've been running workshops, dissections, and Randy runs pen making. We didn't have a relationship with Moat before I started. From August to December, we've reestablished that relationship, and we'd have weekly volunteers working over 152 hours in the Moat Nursery. We started some research partnerships. We're helping the Goodhart Lab at the American Museum of Natural History with some collection of nudibranchs so they can do some population studies and expand their collection. This is Allie from Reef. She actually is showing you the TG6 camera right here, taking photos of that. And then Les wants to start doing some work on rainbow parrotfish and some Paleothoa research. So, and we've been doing some youth engagement, trying to go really fast, took sustainable dive leader training. We cleaned up a lot of trash. And we want to start doing things that we need to talk to our collaborators about, like doing reef surveys and coral nurseries, because what we're noticing is that some of the fishes that we see in the nurseries, we don't see in other places. Also, trying to get practitioners to utilize dive shop staff to help monitor corals and get involved in photomosaic models. And this is my big idea, a conservation calendar to connect the keys. Because all of the dive shops, all the non-for-profits, the government agencies, we're all running events. And it's really hard to be like, let me go on iCare's calendar. Let me go on Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. Let me go on CRF's. Let me go on OCF's calendar. So somehow getting people to work together to get a calendar together. So we have all of the events in one place called Conservation in the Keys. And that way when guests are looking at things like our Goal Clean Seas dives, I think there's 10 operators with that funding, people can be like, oh, cool, I'm going to be on this week. I can go here. And then the next day I can go here. So this is one of my big ideas. Any questions? Gotta go fast.
Go in the water to help clean up marine debris. Ocean Studies Marine Debris Day is going to be Sunday, the 26th, and they'll be walking the shorelines, and they'll have some kayaks out collecting marine debris, and I think they're going to be loading it all up at the Caribbean Club.
That's a community announcement I should have made earlier, that the Ocean Studies Marine Debris on Land is happening in a few weekends. Other questions or comments?
How do you daily track a lionfish?
So
how do you daily track a lionfish is the question.
At 4:30 every day, our entire staff gets a message that said, have you seen any lionfish today? If so, where? What was the size? What was the depth? And our staff report it, and then we put it into a spreadsheet. And we have years worth of data. So this is just some of the data that we're collecting, but what the date is, what the site is, where it is, how many, and then the approximate size. So you're going to report that data to NOAA and Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. And we're trying to get a permit to kill them on Spiegel Grove. It's a process because that's in an existing management area. So you can ask Tony. Tony and I have been on emails with lots of people going in circles to figure out how to do that. It's not up to the captain. It's up to, because it's in an existing management area, we're not allowed to kill lionfish there because it's too close to Pennicamp. So in any of those existing management areas, which are in Key Largo and in Lou Key, we cannot spear there. You can't even have a spear on the wreck.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Yep. Yeah, Diana.
How's the Paleothoa research going? I heard a lot from Dan that they were very excited for it, but they didn't have a lot of funding. So I'm very curious what part that you guys play in that research.
So interestingly, they came down and they collected samples of Paleothoa, and I'm not sure how it's going. But whenever I see something strange with the Paleothoa, I take photos and I text them to Les, and he gets very excited about it. So I don't know the answer to that. But I know that they're testing them in aquaria, and in some aquaria, they're finding they are toxic to the fishes. I don't know about the corals yet. What we've seen on the reef is that they're not really found right where a lot of the hard corals are, but they do seem to maybe be competing with some of the sponges. I don't know yet. It's ongoing. I'll keep you in the loop.
I was emailing him about like looking in Fort Lauderdale because they're overtaking so many of the shallow reefs.
Yep.
And so I was like, if you need geospatial help.
If you go to Pickles, there's a ton of Paleothoa. Even on French, there's a ton of Paleothoa now covering the reef.
Other questions? Comments? So we have our new interns here and other people at various stages in their career, diving, caring for the marine environment. Is there any particular advice that you'd give younger or young at heart people interested in making a difference with their career?
Just do small things every day to make a difference. So, and stop using balloons.
And stop using balloons.
Don't use balloons for anything.
One more question. This will be the last one.
Where do you outplant? Where do you outplant?
So different organizations are going to outplant in different locations. So there's outplants on Pickles Reef, on the 7 iconic reefs. There's outplanting. There's outplants on French Reef, on Pickles. Did I say Pickles already? Yeah. So there's outplants on different reefs. Rosa, do you know where they're currently outplanting for CRF?
The 7 iconic reefs.
Yep.
And then you mentioned a few of the others.
Yep. And then do you know where more people are outplanting right now? Maddie or?
There's a lot of, you covered a lot of it. There's the 7 iconic reefs, and then, as you said, a lot of separate organizations that have their own strategic goals that will outplant at other places like Molasses, like French, Forever Keys, like Pickles Reef.
Yeah, and Elbow. So there's a lot of them, but if you want to know, when you go to, if you're going to go dive somewhere, you can be like, hey, or what sites are you going to? And you might be able to ask the dive shop, hey, I want to go see some new outplants, because we see them pretty frequently. We saw them yesterday, right? The staghorn looked pretty good where we went.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for coming. Let's give her a big round of applause. Yeah. I like to think I know a lot about what's going on around here in the Keys with conservation activities, but I learned a whole lot more opportunities to get involved in different ways. So on behalf of REEF, we say thank you for the talk, and thank you to each and every one of you for coming this evening. I hope you had a great time. Get involved. That's the main thing. Find something to do. Find something you love, because that means you'll probably do it more often. And, let's help keep this place special. I do have a limited edition, special, customized certificate of appreciation for you.
Thank you.
And we're so glad thank you for opening up our series. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming out.
By the way, one of the things that I'm really excited about is on Friday. Where's Michaela? Is she still here? Oh, she was here. So Michaela is going to meet with, who's one of the people that works here. We're going to meet with Dive Heart and start bringing Dive Heart back down to do some conservation stuff. So that's a big meeting that we have on Friday.
Is that calendar, Joe?